ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय राधिकायै प्रियात्मने श्रीमद्भक्तिवेदान्त नारायण गोस्वामिनिति नामिने। श्रीकृष्ण लीला कथने सुदक्षं औदार्य माधुर्य गुणैशयुक्तं वरं वरेण्यं पुरुषं महान्तं श्रीनारायणं त्वं शिरसा नमामि। त्रिदण्डिनां भक्तशिरोमणिं च श्रीकृष्णपादाब्जधृतये हृदि चैतन्यलीलामृतसारसारं नारायणं त्वं सततं प्रपद्ये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्याय नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते। श्याम सुंदर शिखंड शेखर स्मेरहास मुरली मनोहर राधिका रसिक मां कृपा निधे स्वप्रिया चरण किंकरीं कुरु। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। तवैवास्मि न जीवामि त्वया विना इति विज्ञाय राधे तन्नय माम चरनन्तिके। भक्त्या विहीनापराधलक्षै क्षिप्ताश्च कामादितरङ्गमध्यै कृपामयि त्वं शरणं प्रपन्ना वृन्दे नमस्ते चरणारविन्दम्। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। So first of all, I offer my unlimited obeisances unto the divine lotus feet of my most worshipable spiritual master, His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. My unlimited obeisances unto the divine lotus feet of Sachidanand Thakur Srila Bhaktivinod, by whose mercy we have received this wonderful scripture, Jaiva Dharma. My unlimited obeisances unto the divine lotus feet of our Rupanuga Guru Varga, and my respects to all the devotees. So, by the mercy of Shishi Guru and Gauranga, we completed 3 chapters of Jaiva Dharma. So, this first phase of our course on Jaiva Dharma is going to cover 6 chapters of the first section of Jaiva Dharma. So, we are at the midpoint of our course phase 1. So we completed 3 chapters, and in the last chapter, as you know, we discussed a very important point regarding why the activities and the process that the Vaishnavas follow appears to be different from what the Brahmins and others follow, which the process that is described in Manusmriti and other such scriptures. And Vaishnav Dasji explained very beautifully that there are people, those who have inclination towards the following rules and regulations, and those who have spontaneous love for the Lord. And till we get to the stage of spontaneous love, we have to follow rules and regulations. So the purpose of the devotees, the Vaishnavas, when they follow rules and regulations, it is to inculcate, to arouse the pure love of the Lord in their heart. And it is not only simply for a ritualistic purpose. So he explained that how people have different eligibilities, those in the only for fruitive actions, in the karma, and then in gyan, which is the path of knowledge, and then those who follow the path of bhakti with love. And then he explained that how there are those who have Vivek means the discrimination. Those whose ability to discriminate between right and wrong has arisen, and those for whom this discrimination is still not there. And he explained that Vivek in relation to spirituality, not for the general material life. And he said those who are Udit Vivek, or those whose Vivek has arisen, they are the Vaishnavas, those who have this clear conception that Krishna is the supreme and the goal of life is to attain love of Shri Krishna. And this is Nitya Dharma, the eternal religion. And then he also explained that Nimittik Dharma is not to be followed, and it has to be actually rejected, because it does not give, it does help us, it does bring us to the level of some purification, but it does not give the ultimate goal of Krishna Prem. So therefore it should be rejected. So now we start the fourth chapter, and this fourth chapter is titled Vaishnav Dharam is Nitya Dharam. That the Vaishnav religion, as enunciated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this is the eternal religion of the Jiva, the living entity. So at the start of, as you know, at the conclusion of the last chapter, we saw that this gentleman who had posed this question in the assembly of the Vaishnavas, his name was Kali Das Lahiri, and he left the place where he was staying and then came to the kunj of Premhans Das Babaji, and he mercifully gave him a place to stay in that kunj. So now he's staying in his small hut or cottage, and here it describes very beautifully that there were many mango and jackfruit trees in that kunja. So jackfruit, even today when you go to Bengal, there are many, all over you will see these jackfruit trees. And this was one fruit was very much loved by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also. So, and in the courtyard, there was a large tree and there was a circular platform around it. And on that platform, Sri Pradyumna Brahmachari. So Pradyumna Brahmachari ji used to live in this grove before, and he is the spiritual master of Premhans Das Babaji. And he used to sit on that platform and speak Harikatha. So this is almost like the Vyasasana, right? So where a pure devotee sits and speaks Harikatha, that place is called Vyasasana. So this was just a platform made with mud platform, but it became so worshipable because Pradyumna ji, he used to sit on this and speak Harikatha. So devotees would come and they would circumambulate this platform. So even at the temple, when we do pradakshina or we circumambulate the deities, so we also do the Vyasasana. So we also circumambulate as part of that parikrama. We also go around the Vyasasana. So, so this was now evening time, and Lahiri Mahashay was sitting in his cottage, and there was a small lamp which was giving light. Those days there was no electricity, so they would in the evening light lamps. And he saw that a snake came inside his cottage, and he became very scared. He picked up a stick and tried to shoo away that snake. And he increased the light of the lamp, because if that light increases, that would also make the snake go away. And then with the stick, he pushed it out. But he was very scared to see the snake. And then he went to the cottage of Vaishnav Dasji. And he told him that please be careful because it seems that that snake may have entered your cottage. So then Vaishnav Das. Now the next part of this conversation is very instructive. Vaishnav Das ji, hearing this, that a snake has entered his cottage or may have entered his cottage, he was not at all disturbed. He was chanting on his beads and he did not show any amount of agitation. To the contrary, he said to Lahari Mahashay that why are you so disturbed about a snake? Come and sit inside my kutir with me and don't be afraid. So kutir means cottage. So he says, don't be scared. Just come and sit in my cottage. This is the symptom of a devotee whose intelligence is fixed. In the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna had asked Arjun, so Arjun had asked Krishna that what are the qualities of a person whose intelligence is fixed. And Krishna gave many beautiful symptoms that a person who does not get disturbed because of gain, loss, honor, dishonor, all of these things. And then he said towards the end that Tasmat yase mahabaho nigrihitani sarvashah indriyani indriyarthebhyah tasya pragya pratishtitah. He said that one whose mind, whose indriya means the senses, they do not get disturbed. He has complete control on his senses and they don't get agitated even when there is object of those sense objects, right? So even when there is agitation for the senses, but he does not get agitated by it, such person's intelligence is fixed. So see, our situation is not like that. What to talk of a snake? Even if sometimes there's a cockroach, many people get very agitated. And if there's a lizard in the house, right, see what kind of a reaction we have. These are insects, or like a lizard. They don't even come and bite you. They don't even hurt you, but still our mind gets agitated. And here there is a snake, but even seeing the snake or knowing that the snake may have come inside the cottage, Vaishnav Das' mind was not disturbed. So we all in our lives have so many different kind of agitations. So even though here he's taking the snake as the object of agitation, but the instruction that now Vaishnav Das gives is applicable in any circumstance that we have, any situation which causes agitation for the mind. And this is the art of living our life, and also shows that how by practicing bhakti, and when we actually start relishing the taste of the holy name and start making progress, that how the intelligence become fixed and these different things do not cause any type of agitation. So now, even though Vaishnav Das told him, then don't be agitated, but Lahari Mahashay, his mind was still very agitated. And he still was feeling a lot of mental anxiety. And he said, in Shantipur, so he used to live in Shantipur, even today, when you drive from Kolkata airport towards Navadvip, on the way Shantipur comes, and it that time used to be a bigger town. This is a place where Sri Advaitacharya used to live, one of the four main associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Shantipur was a bigger town, and there was no such fear of snakes. So he says, when I was staying there were no such scorpions and snakes, but this Navadvip is a more rural area. There are more forests here and trees, and it is difficult. He says it is especially difficult for a refined gentleman to live in a forested area like Godro. So he is calling himself like a refined gentleman who's from a city which has better facilities. And he's saying, for someone like me to live in a place like this, which is infested with, insects insects and scorpions and snakes, it is difficult. And sometimes, when people go to holy places like Vrindavan or Haridwar, and now, of course, there are much, much, externally speaking, better facilities. But, if you go to there, it doesn't have the same kind of facilities that you may have in a bigger city or in America. And sometimes people feel very disturbed because they see lack of proper material facilities. So he's expressing the same concern. Now, what does Vaishnav Das Babaji says? He says, it is senseless to agitate the mind over such matters. You must have heard the story of Maharaj Parikshit in Srimad Bhagavatam. He gave up all fear of the impending death by snake bite and with an unflinching heart drank the nectar of Harikatha from Sri Shukadev's mouth. So he's telling him that it is not very intelligent to get distracted by such agitations and to get the mind agitated. He says, he reminds him of Maharaj Parikshit. So Maharaj Parikshit, because he offended the Angira Rishi and his son Shringi, he cursed him that one snake will come and bite you. So that time, when Parikshit Maharaj heard this, he did not become agitated. And he knew that he had committed an offense. Of course, this was a plan of the Lord. He knew that he had committed something wrong and he accepted the reaction of what he had done and immediately left all the attachments, gave up all the attachment to his vast kingdom, vast wealth and opulence, his family, his palaces, and wearing the dress of a simple mendicant, he went and sat on the banks of the Ganges. And that's where Sri Shukadeva Goswami came and spoke then Srimad Bhagavatam. So he said, even though he knew that on the seventh day, a snake, and this was not ordinary snake, this was Takshak Nag, and whose bite is bound to kill the person. So he knew that, but still his mind was not agitated. He simply came and sat and heard Srimad Bhagavatam. So he said, why? Because he had unflinching faith, with an unflinching heart, with mind which was not agitated. He heard and drank the nectar of the Harikatha from the lotus lips of Sri Shukdev Goswami. So thus he tasted supreme transcendental bliss. So this is the power of hearing Harikatha, that all the fear from the mind goes away. See, the fear in the mind is because he will explain, we'll come to that point, that because we identify ourselves with the body, but when by constantly hearing the holy name, by constantly hearing and chanting the holy name, and by constantly hearing Harikatha, this is the power of Harikatha, and this is the power of performing bhakti, that one's mind becomes completely free from all agitation and develops strong faith in the Lord. So Prahlad, who was only a 5-year-old boy, as you know, that even though his father Hiranyakashipu was such a ferocious, autocrat, and he was controlling the entire, almost entire universe. All the demigods were also so scared of him, but Prahlad was not at all scared, and he was teaching his classmates to perform bhakti. So his classmates asked that, how come you have all this knowledge and how come you are so fearless? So Prahlad said that just like your minds flow naturally towards sinful activities, my mind naturally flows towards the Supreme Lord, towards Sri Hari. Why? because of the mercy of my Guru. Who was his Guru? Narad Rishi. And I have heard Hari Katha from him. For how long? For 60,000 years. When he was in the womb of his mother Kayadu, in the hermitage of Sri Narad Rishi, he was hearing Harikatha, Naradji, when he will speak, even though he was in the womb, he was hearing. For 60,000 years, he heard while Hiranyakashipu was performing austerities to attain immense power. Kayadu was staying at the hermitage of Narad Rishi. So hearing this, his heart became completely free from all kind of fears and agitation, and that natural love for the Lord arose in his heart. So he said that my heart naturally flows towards the Lord. So he's saying this is what that unflinching faith is. And then he says that a snake can never bite the Chitta Deha. Chitta Deha means our spiritual form. So Chit means Chinmay, our spiritual Deha. So our spiritual body, which is our soul, that cannot be bitten by the snake. So when the snake will come and bite, will be only the material body. But he says which snake can actually hurt the spiritual body. Very beautiful. So he says the only snake that can wound the spiritual body is the snake of separation from topics of Sri Hari. So, not being able to hear the glories of the Lord, not being able to hear the holy name, not being able to have the association of devotees, this is the snake of separation. A very important point for us to understand. So, what does a snake do? The snake comes and bites, and that poison slowly, it kills you, right? So, similarly, when we do not stay in the association of devotees, when we give up hearing the Harikatha, when we slowly give up, and this happens all the time, the power of Maya is so strong that many people, even after coming to spiritual life, even after taking shelter of a gurus, they start chanting the holy name, but still they start giving priorities more to the material things, or for some reason there's so many things. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur beautifully explains all this in Madhurya Kadambini. They are not very careful about associating with the devotees and constantly hearing Harikatha. So what happens? This snake of he says the snake that can wound is the snake of separation from the topics of Sri Hari. And then that poison slowly start takes it effect, and one may completely become distracted from the spiritual path. So this is something to remember as we make progress. That's why Shri Rupa Goswami says utsaha nishchayat, that we should have determination, nishchayat of what? That no matter what, I will not give up the chanting of the holy name. I will not give up. More important than that, I will not give up the association of devotees and make all the effort to listen to Harikatha. So he says the material body is not eternal and one will certainly have to give it up someday. We all know that, right? But again, generally, our inclination is more towards maintaining the physical body than nourishing our spiritual self. He says, as far as the body is concerned, we should simply perform those activities that is necessary to maintain it. And when the body collapses by the will of Krishna, it cannot be saved by any kind of effort. But until the designated time for the demise of the body has arrived, a snake cannot harm a person even if he's sleeping right next to it. So he says that have this unflinching faith that nobody will be able to harm you till the time of your death has come, and that is by the will of the Lord. So we all are in this body for as long as we are designated to stay within this body. So this firm faith that Krishna will protect me till, as long as I have to be in this body, this is also one of the six aspects of Sharanagati or surrender. So, Anukulena Sankalpaha Pratikulasya Varjanam Rakshaishyati iti Vishwasaha. Having that strong faith, Rakshaishyati iti Vishwasaha, that faith that Krishna will protect me. So this faith, of course, comes slowly and gradually, and we should also not intentionally put ourselves in the harm's way. And in our stage, we also have to be cognizant that we are not at that level of spiritual realization. So we have to carefully tread this path, right? But as we develop that strong faith, the truth is that no matter what, if the time of death has come, then nobody can protect us. And if Krishna is protecting us, then nobody can harm us. Rakhe Krishna mare Krishna rakhe ke. So it says that if Krishna wants to protect you, nobody can hurt you. And then if it is time for you to leave this body, Mare Krishna Rakheke, Krishna in the form of Kal, as he says in Bhagavad Gita also, that he takes away everyone's life. When the time has come, then even though we have the best medical facilities and the best of the doctors, nobody can protect us. So this fear stays as long as we are in the material conception. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a very beautiful verse. Let me share that. So in this verse it stays, and this is in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. It says, Bhayam dvitya abhiniveshatah syat ishat apetasya vipareha asmritihi tat mayato buddha abhajet tam bhaktya ekasham guru devat atma. He says, Bhaya dvitya nivesha. He says, why does one fear arises? That when one misidentifies himself as the material body because of absorption in the external illusory energy of the Lord. So this is our situation, and as the faith will develop and that misidentification goes away, the fear will also go away. And this is one of the qualities of a devotee, that a devotee is fearless. So when the living entity thus turns away from the Supreme Lord, he forgets his own constitutional position as a servant of the Lord. This bewildering, fearful condition is affected by the potency for illusion called Maya. So the Maya, which is causing this illusion, and because of this illusion, we are fearful. So one who surrenders to Guru and Krishna and develops that unflinching faith in them, he is able to rise above this fear. So he says that if the time for death has not come, then even if a snake is sleeping next to you, nothing will come, nothing will happen. So he says, one may not introduce himself as a Vaishnav until he gets rid of his fear of snakes and all such things. So very high standard of a Vaishnava is saying, of course, we are not at that level, but he's saying a Vaishnava is one who has developed that strong faith. Because if the mind is agitated by such fears, how will one be able to fix it upon the lotus feet of Sri Hari? So, as I was saying before, our minds do get agitated by so many different things. So we have to practice what is called mindful chanting, mindful bhakti. In the next line, in the next paragraph, Lahadi Maharshi says that by hearing what you are saying, now I have understood that one can obtain the highest benefit only when the heart becomes elevated. When our heart becomes elevated, when one develops this faith, the staunch faith, only then we can actually reap the benefit. So how do we do that? So we have to practice what I would say mindful devotional service or mindful chanting. See, when we in our conditioned stage, whether we are chanting, especially when we are chanting or doing some spiritual activity, activity, the mind wanders here and there. It is a natural tendency. Everyone experiences that. So if you are feeling that, you are not alone, because everyone experiences that. So that time you have to be a bit mindful in the sense, observe those thoughts coming and mindfully take your mind away from those thoughts. And how do we do that? One way to do that is by remembering what we have heard in Harikatha, by memorizing certain stutis or prayers and meditating on them in your mind, meditating on the pastimes of the Lord. Mind is like a restless child. It will again go run away, right? But then again, we have to pull it back and then focus it again on hearing the holy name, and along with that also slowly meditate on the Lord's pastimes, or some beautiful thing that one has heard in Harikatha, or on the activities of one's spiritual master. So by slowly doing this type of mindful practice, mindfulness means that one does not just let yourself flow away with the mind, but try to control the mind, observing the thoughts that are coming in the mind. So by this, one can slowly train the mind and the heart will become elevated. So he says, I understand that many times those who are sadhus, saintly people, they actually go and live in places in like the mountains and the forested areas, because they're more fearful of materialistic association. So they are not that afraid of snakes and scorpions in the forest, but they're more scared of the association of materialistic people. So the point here is to understand that what is more dangerous to, so yes, a snake or a scorpion may in some form or fashion may hurt your physical body. So the point is not that we should not protect ourselves from them. We should protect ourselves from them. But the point that he's trying to explain is that more harmful is the association of those who are very materialistic, and therefore pratikula sevarijnam, things that are unfavorable to bhakti, we should give those up. So then Babaji Mahasaya says that when Bhakti Devi, the goddess of devotion, makes her appearance in a person's heart, that heart automatically becomes elevated. So this is the power of bhakti. Shri Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu says, Kleshagni Shubhada, that all the kleshas, all the things, the miseries, which appear to be miseries, they go away, right? And then Shubhada, all the auspiciousness comes in the life as one makes progress in bhakti. These are the natural effects of someone who's practicing bhakti. And he says the heart becomes automatically elevated. And then what happens? Such a person becomes dear to all the jivas, even the non-devotees and devotees. Everyone feels affection for a Vaishnav. Why does that happen? Because when one develops love for the Lord, then that because of that purity, he becomes like a magnet, and yet everyone becomes attracted to such a person. And we see, those who are saintly personalities, we saw with Shri Gurudev, that how people will just automatically be attracted to him. Many times I saw, we will be sitting at the airport in Houston, and people just walking by will just come by. When sometimes we will be walking with him, and people from nowhere who were just either jogging or they were just going by, they will just stop just seeing him. There were so many of us walking with Gurudev, right? 60-70 people sometimes walking with him, but they will, seeing his personality, his effulgence, will be so attracted, they will come and pay obeisances. They will, sometimes people will come and say that it felt to me that something is pulling me towards you. So this is what happens when a person becomes magnetized. One becomes like a spiritual magnet, and everyone becomes attracted to such a person. So he said, therefore, everyone should become a Vaishnava. So Vaishnava is a very high thing to become a devotee of the Lord. As one develops love for Krishna, that love attracts each and every living entity. And such a person, therefore, is completely fearless. So now Lahari Mahasaya says that you have awakened my faith in Nitya Dharma. And he says that I can understand a little bit of what you are saying, but I am still not able to make connection between Nitya Dharma, the eternal religion, and Vaishnav Dharma. Are these two the same or are they different? What is the difference between them? He wants to understand. So now Vaishnav Das ji explains gives an answer to this question. But before we do that, let's just do a quick short quiz. And this will help what we learned in the last chapter. So let's just take a few minutes, a couple of minutes, and hopefully you can all see this on your screen. There are 5 questions, simple questions. So if you take some time to respond to them, and this will help us, do a quick review of what we learned in the last chapter before we get to the answer of this question that Lahari Mahasaya is asking. So just take a couple of minutes. So of course, those who are watching on Facebook can probably not see these questions. So if anyone watching on the Facebook would like to actually join the Zoom class, you can just send me a message and I can share the link with you. In the following classes, you can join directly the Zoom session. So hopefully you can answer a couple of questions. Just make an effort. Even if you don't get a wrong answer, don't worry. We will quickly go through the answers. Okay, so I think let's just um, quickly review the answers. So the first answer, everyone got it right. How does one get the association of pure devotees? That is by accumulating transcendental pious activities from the previous life. So that is the correct answer. Not through the study of scriptures or anything like that. And then the next one was the jivas have innumerable varieties of adhikar, and which one of them is not one of the eligibilities? So kamya adhikar, that is also correct. And then the next question was Karam Yoga, Gyan Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. These are 3 independent processes. So again, everyone got it right. They are not independent. They are dependent on Bhakti. So Karam Yoga leads to Gyan Yoga, and they both then lead to Bhakti Yoga. But Bhakti Yoga within itself is independent, right? But Karam Yoga and Gyan Yoga are not independent processes. And then which of the following is not a type of Shubh Karma or auspicious action? So a karma, the last one, is not a type of auspicious action. Kamya karma, even though they are performed for some personal benefit, But as Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, that you are still performing a good action, but the purpose of it is for personal benefit. That's the reason in the scriptures it's not encouraged, but it is still a shubh karam. But a karam is when one does not even perform activities that are described in the scriptures. That is called a karam, and that is not considered auspicious. And then the final one, that Varanashram Dharam, Ashtang Yog, and performing various austerities, this is Nitya Dharam. So that is false. This is not eternal religion. So good. I think we got everyone got correct answers. So that is really nice. Okay. So I think that it seems that everyone has understood quite well what we discussed in the last chapter. So I'm very happy to see that. So now we'll continue with the answer to the question that Lahadi Mahashay asked. So his question was that is Nitya Dharam same as Vaishnav Dharam? What is the connection between them? So then Vaishnav Das Babaji he replies that there are two types of Vaishnav Dharam. So one is called Shuddh Vaishnav Dharam. Shuddh means pure. And the other one is Vidha Vaishnav Dharam. The word Vidh means adulterated, means it's not pure. There is some ulterior motives and other things because of which it is not considered pure. He says that the Shuddha Vaishnav Dharam is of four types. And what are those four divisions? These are according to the rasas or the mellows, the loving mood in which the devotees associate with the Lord. So as you probably know, so one is dasya, which is the mood of servitude, then the sakhya, the mood of friendship, then vatsalya, the mood of parental affection, and then finally the madhurya, the mood of conjugal love. So he says all these four, if when one is rendering or doing bhakti with one of these moods, it is called Shuddh, it is pure. And he says in reality, Shuddh Vaishnav Dharam is one without a second, and this only is known as Nitya Dharam. So basically, what he's saying, there is no difference. So he's saying that when we talk of Vaishnav Dharam, there are two types. One is pure and one is adulterated. And the next he will explain what is the adulterated Vaishnav Dharam, and that's when people become a bit confused. So he says, but if we take the pure Vaishnav Dharam, then that is the same as Nitya Dharam. So again, what is Nitya Dharam? Nitya Dharam, as the first thing that Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the first chapter he said, like Nitya Dharam or Jaiva Dharam is the living entity when one loves the Supreme Lord. To love the Supreme Lord and render loving devotional service unto Him, that is our eternal religion. Jivara Swarup hoy Krishner Nityadas, Krishner Tatastha Shakti, Bhed Abhed Prakash. We are His eternal servant and rendering loving devotional service unto Him, that is our eternal religion. And in these four moods, one renders loving devotional service. So it says in the Mundak Upanishad, there is a verse, Yat Vigyate Sarvam Idam Vigyatam Bhavati. Everything becomes known when one understands that supreme truth clearly. So then nothing else is to be known. So there is such vast knowledge, such vast Vedic knowledge. But the conclusion of all of that, the goal of all of that is to understand this. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Vedahisha sarvahi aham ev vedya vedant krit ved videv chaham. He says, Vedahisha sarvahi, the purpose of all the Vedas, Vedahisha sarvahi aham ev vedya, is to know me. So if we read all the scriptures, all the Vedic scriptures, the Upanishads, the Puranas, the Mahabharata, but still do not come to this understanding that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, Krishnastu Bhagwan Swayam, and that we are His eternal servants, then all that is Shram Eva Hi Kevalam. It is all just useless labor. Right? And this only happens when one comes in the association of devotees in one of the paramparas, one of the four authorized paramparas. Otherwise, so many, even after reading the scriptures, are not able to understand this one very important thing. So when one comes to this understanding, he says that one understands the supreme truth clearly, right? When there is no such further doubt, then everything becomes known. So this statement pertains to Shuddha Vaishnav Dharma. That means one who has understood the pure Vaishnav Dharma, he has understood everything. There is nothing else for him to know any further. But he says, when we talk of with Vaishnav Dharma, the adulterated Vaishnav Dharma, that is of two types. One is called Karma Vid, and the other one is called Gyan Vid. So, and now he will explain what these two are. So, all the practices that so first he's explaining the Karma Vid. All the practices that the orthodox Brahmins uphold as Vaishnav Dharma are actually Vaishnav Dharma adulterated with karma. This type of Vaishnav Dharma entails initiation into a Vaishnav mantra, but Vishnu, the all-pervading Lord of the universe, is only treated as a constituent part of the process of karma. Vishnu is actually independent of all the devatas, but in this system, he is regarded as being only as an aspect of karma and subject to its laws. In other words, the conception is that karma is not subordinate to the will of Vishnu, but that Vishnu is subordinate to the will of karma. So they also call themselves Vaishnavas. They also worship Vishnu also, but they think that Vishnu, Lord Vishnu, is also, so they don't have conception of Krishna. They only think of Vishnu or Narayan, and their understanding is that Vishnu is also bound by the activities that he has to perform. So, for example, he is responsible for maintaining the universe. This is his karma, and he's bound by that karma. He's required to perform that karma. So, meaning karma is not under his control, but he's under the control of karma. So, for them, karam, performing activities, is the highest thing. So, this is an adulteration. This is when Rupa Goswami gives the definition of Shuddha Bhakti. He says, Anya Bhilashita Shunyam Gyan Karmadi Anavritam. He clearly states that Shuddha Bhakti is what which is not covered by this conception of karma, and similarly the conception of gyan or knowledge, which is not associated with pure bhakti of Krishna. So this is called Karam with Vaishnav Dharam. And this is, as he's saying, is considers Vishnu to be under the control of karmas. So it says, according to this theory, all varieties of worship and spiritual practice, like the various upasanas, means worships that they perform, the chants that they do, they also do bhajans, they also do some different spiritual practices. They're merely parts of karma. They don't see that this has the reason that bhajan or mantras have to be chanted is to develop love for Krishna. So they may also chant the Gayatri mantra, but their purpose of chanting the Gayatri mantra is part of their karma, they're part of their religious duty, nothing beyond that. When we chant the mantras, when those who are following the path of Shuddha Vaishnav Dharma, when we are chanting the same mantras, our goal is to attain love of Krishna. And this is the potency of the mantras. The mood with which you chant that mantra, that mood only becomes, you attain that mood only, right? So it is very important that we chant the mantras with the right mood, with the right understanding. He says the many ancient Mimamsak philosophers, they followed this type of Vaishnav Dharma, but today also many people in India who adhere to this doctrine of being Vaishnavas. And we see this, there are many different, I would say, branches of Vaishnavism. And many of them, when you go deeper into their understanding, even though externally it seems they're worshipping Lakshmi Narayan, they're worshipping Lord Vishnu's deities, but when you actually go a little bit deeper into their understanding, you will see this is the kind of conception they have. And they do not sometimes even accept what the pure Vaishnav Dharma is. And he says this is the great misfortune. So this is the karma with Vaishnav Dharma. And then he explains what is the Gyan with Vaishnav Dharma. that Vaishnav Dharma which is adulterated with Gyan. Gyan, what type of Gyan? He says this is also very widespread throughout India. And according to this, the supreme truth is the incomprehensible, all pervading Brahm. And in order to attain this featureless, Nirvishesh Brahm, one should worship Surya, Ganesh, Shakti, Shiv, and Vishnu, who all possess forms. So he's saying is, so this is the Brahmavadis, right? So we have before also when we were discussing the philosophy what the Sripad Shankaracharya gave, we discussed Brahmavad. So they believe that the supreme absolute truth has no form. He's featureless, he's formless, without any qualities. But still they worship five deities. And which are these deities? Lord Vishnu, Surya means the sun, Ganesh, they worship Lord Shiva, and they also worship Devi. But the difference in their worship and the way the pure Vaishnavas worship Vishnu is that they think that these deities are just temporary. Okay, they don't believe that Vishnu is eternal or Shiva is eternal. They don't believe that. But for the purpose of focusing their mind, for the purpose of meditation, it is easy to do it when you have a deity that you are focusing on. So therefore, they worship these deities, but they consider them to be temporary. So their conception is that once we attain liberation, once we attain that stage of oneness with that supreme absolute, then there is no need for these deities. So therefore, they also call them just murti. We call them vigraha. Vigraha means a very special form that the Lord has taken in that form of the deity. And when our conception of liberation is not that then there will be no, Radha and Krishna. No, then we will, in our spiritual form, be serving them in the spiritual abode. The transcendental couple, Shishi, Radha, and Krishna. So this is the difference. He says, when one's knowledge becomes complete, one can give up the worship of forms and ultimately attain state of nirvishesh, meaning oneness with that featureless Brahman, formless Brahman. Many people who accept this doctrine and disrespect the pure Vaishnavas. He says the followers of this system, this is called the Panch Upasana. Panch means five, Upasana means worship. So people who do this type of worship, they also perform Diksha, they also get Diksha, they also perform Puja, they also do Kirtan, they may be also doing the chanting, and they will also appear they're also chanting the names of Vishnu. And he says they may also sometimes worship Radha and Krishna, but still it is not Shuddha Vaishnav Dharma. And this is so prevalent. So many temples, there is also deities of Radha Krishna, but they do not believe that Radha Krishna are eternal, that they are in their Golok Dham, and that we have an eternal relationship with them, and that we have a spiritual form and it will be serving. And that is what the purpose of life is. They don't have this understanding. So he says this is adulterated Vaishnav Dharma, adulterated by this false conception, this false knowledge. So he says, when one filters out all of these, right? So just like when you purify the water, when you filter out all the impurities, so these are the impurities, Gyan Karmadi Anavritam. Shuddha Bhakti is covered by these conceptions of knowledge of liberation and merging into one supreme, and that performing activities with some fruitive desires. All of this cover Shuddha Bhakti. He says when all of this is removed, all of these is eliminated, then what is left is the unadulterated form of Vaishnav Dharma, and that is Shuddha Vaishnav Dharma. But he says because of the effect of the age of Kali, nowadays we will see that most people, what they are following is not the pure Vaishnav Dharma. What they are following is the adulterated version of Vaishnav Dharma. That was also the situation when Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur appeared. And that's why he's the one who then reestablished the principles of Shuddha Bhakti. And With time, this happens. Again, we see the same effect, and as the Kali will progress, we will see more and more adulteration in the pure Vaishnav conception. So it says, according to Srimad Bhagavatam, the human beings display three different tendencies with regard to the absolute truth. And which are these three tendencies? Those who worship the supreme absolute truth and his featureless form, right? The Brahman. That is called the Brahm Pravritti, or the Brahm, the tendency towards the supreme Atma. The tendency towards the all-pervading Brahma. So this is called Brahm Pravritti. So the second one is the conception of Paramatma, or the super soul within our heart. So then some worship him as the supreme Atma, or the Paramatma, who is residing within the heart. And then there are those whose tendency is towards the Supreme Person as Bhagwan in his full Sachidanand May form. Krishna, who is the reservoir of all the rasas, Akhil Rasamrita Sindhu. So these are the three different tendencies which are based on the three different conceptions of the Supreme Absolute. So it says those who are in the Brahm Pravritti, meaning those whose tendency is to worship him as the featureless Brahman, inspire some people with the desire or with the tendency for worshipping his infinite featureless Nirvishesh Brahm as the ultimate principle. So this is again, he's just explaining that those who have that tendency, they worship the featureless form. And similarly, those who have the Paramatma Pravritti, means those who have the conception of him as the super soul, their inclination is towards performing things like yoga. They will perform dhyan or meditation, and they will be absorbed in the meditation on him as the Paramatma. So they are more interested in getting the stage of samadhi. So this is known as Karma Yoga and Ashtang Yoga. So he says this doctrine also holds that karma includes initiation into the chanting of Vishnu mantras, worship of Sri Vishnu, meditation, and other such practices. This system therefore includes Vaishnav Dharma adulterated with karma. So again, many of their practices appear to be the same or similar to what those who are followers of the Shuddha Vaishnava Dharma are doing. But again, the point is that their goal is not to attain love for Krishna. They are only meditating on Paramatma, thinking Vishnu is also under the control of karma. So see, this is why it is so important to understand Jaiva Dharma. So important. And I know it is a bit difficult. It takes some time and effort. But understanding Jaiva Dharma and understanding these concepts very clearly, this is such a boost to our spiritual life. Because if we are not clear about what we are trying to achieve, then we will not achieve the real truth, right? And a lot of people, unfortunately, and are confused about these things. So we are very fortunate that we have received, by the mercy of our Guru Varga, this very pristine, crystal clear conception of what the true or the pure Vaishnav Dharma is. He says, fortunate jivas are influenced by the Bhagavad Pravritti. Bhagavad Pravritti means when they are attracted towards the transcendental form of the Lord, and their ruchi, their tendency is to worship the pure personal form of Bhagwan, who possesses all qualities and attributes. They follow him and become established in Bhakti Tattva. Their activities, such as worshipping Bhagwan, are not parts of karma or gyan, but are components of Shuddh Bhakti, pure Bhakti. So he's explained these three things again. The conception of the Supreme are those who worship him as the featureless Brahman, those who worship him as Paramatma, and those who worship him as in his form as Bhagwan. And then he will explain this a little bit more detail by quoting a very important verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, which we will discuss next time. So now we are almost at the time the end of the class. So we will finish here, and let's see if anyone has any questions regarding what we discussed today.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, Hare
So,
Krishna.
so these adulterated Vaishnav dharam, what we understood over here, are they part of some sampradaya, or this was a little confusion because as we have four branches of Vaishnav in Vaishnavism. So are they part of some sampradaya in that, or where they fall when they are following Vaishnav dharam?
Yeah, so very good question. No, they are not part of the four Vaishnav Sampradayas, because those four Vaishnav Sampradayas, they all are within the Shuddha Vaishnav Dharam.
Okay.
Now, the mood may be slightly different because some of them, they worship Krishna in the more Vatsalya Bhav, some worship more on reverence. But they're all the four Vaishnav Sampradayas started by, where the Sri Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya, Madhva Sampradaya, and the Sanat Sampradaya. So these all are perfectly pure Vaishnav Dharma. But
Okay.
this one that he's taking, there are many, many other branches that have, people sometimes have left. If you go into the history, some have either, because of some reason, they would leave and then start their own ideas. Some have just started from different misunderstood conceptions of the scriptures. And then the Gyan with Vaishnav Dharam. This is again a mixture of what is Brahmavad
Right.
and overlaid with some, worships that they have taken from the Vaishnav Dharam. So over, such a long period of time, these things have come up, and there are many, many different branches and ideas. As you can see today, also sometimes people just, take one thing from here, one thing from there, and they start
Yeah.
their own philosophy and idea, right? So many
Right.
things even we see today also. That's the reason the scriptures clearly say that when we follow someone, right, just we should see which parampara that he is coming in, and where does that parampara start from. So all the four Vaishnav Sampradayas, they start their lineage. So like Rudra Sampradaya starts from Lord Shiva,
Mm.
and Lord Shiva is a great devotee of the Lord, right?
Mm.
Similarly, the Sampradaya, the Sri Sampradaya starts from Sri Lakshmi Devi, who is a consort of the Lord himself. And then we come in Madhva Sampradaya, where Lord Brahma received all the knowledge from Krishna himself. So there is this parampara leading all the way to the Lord himself, because he's the Adi Guru. He's the ultimately the supreme teacher. So therefore we should always know or try to understand what is the parampara of that person who is giving uh, the spiritual, the religious teachings, right? But
Okay.
yeah, but these are not these with Vaishnav Dharam, the adulterated ones are not part of the four Vaishnav Sampradayas.
Okay. Got it. Thank you so much.
So any other question? So I'll see if someone. But, yeah, but these are not these. So if one has, I'm just trying to see if someone has any questions on the Facebook. No. So if anyone has any question, feel free to send those questions to me. And again, those who are watching on the Facebook, if you would like to join a Zoom class, you can send me a message, and I will share the Zoom link with you. So thanks again, everyone, and we'll meet next Sunday. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.